Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from Mainnet 2024 by Masari. Joining me for this segment, we have Colin Cunningham. He is the head of Tokenization and Alliances at Chainlink Labs. We're here to discuss what's required for tokenized assets to be usable and connected through the on-chain ecosystem. Of course, Chainlink, no stranger to the show. Their infrastructure plays a significant role in the success of DeFi, and it's now expanded into the vital role of tokenization. It is great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's talk about this Chainlink and its infrastructure. How is it enabling tokenized platforms to build that are smart, secure, and scalable?
Yeah, sure. So let's break that down for a second, right? So anytime you're tokenizing an asset, there's three key pieces at work there. You have the issuer of the asset, right, which is typically a fund or some type of stable coin. Second, you've got the platform that they actually need to use to tokenize it. And third, you have the servicer. The servicer, the way I think about that, and the way we think about that is, what's all the data that's sitting off chain that needs to come on chain and be endowed or assigned to this tokenized asset in order for it to perform, right? So let's talk about being smart. Being smart means, and I think the way we look at it is that most of the assets that exist in the on-chain universe today, they were born there, right? Versus what we see with traditional tokenized assets, all the data for these assets sits off-chain. So Chainlink's built this expertise of moving data on-chain. So the first thing is, for assets or tokenized real-world assets to be smart, they need data. So that's kind of the first part of that, right? Now the second part is, how do you make this scalable, right? Now scalability really plays into Chainlink's ability to provide CCIP, which is our cross-chain interoperability protocol, okay? Over the past 5 to 10 years, so we've seen a proliferation, and it's not going to stop, of all the blockchains that are out there. You have to have a secure way to move these assets to fit into the different DeFi protocols that need to use them for different purposes. This could be lending, this could be trading, it could be even into derivatives products and things of that nature. So what we're doing is we're not only moving the data on chain, right? We're actually enabling these tokens through our cross-chain interoperability protocol to move from one chain to another. So that if you're an asset issuer, if you're a Fidelity, if you're a large financial institution that's trying to access this on-chain financial ecosystem, Chainlink's providing the infrastructure that enables you to make your assets smart, scalable, and secure so that you can access the widest set of the on-chain financial ecosystem in the way that you choose.
So let's take a step back for a moment here. What's required for a tokenized asset to be usable and connected throughout the on-chain ecosystem?
Okay, so it's really what we've obviously been known for, right, is a lot of the work that Chainlink's done around decentralized oracles and aggregating price for different assets within the DeFi or within the crypto universe. Again, those are those crypto native assets. When we start to look at traditional assets and you start to think about how they perform, like whether it's a regulated institution or otherwise, you're starting to move these assets on chain, but the data that we're talking about is a bit different. So there's really two main data points that we're seeing right now from all the different groups that we work with, which is fundamental. The first is the net asset value price per share, right? So if you have a money market fund or any type of fund, within that fund there is a basket of assets that are held by that fund or held by the custodian of that fund that needs to be verified, right? And the second thing is all of those assets aggregated, there's a number of shares for that fund that sit on chain where we need to know the price of the share of the fund, okay? And so when we think about net asset value price per share, we've got to bring that on chain. At the same time, as we start to look at the proliferation of all of these different funds on chain, you also need the reserve value. The reserve ensures, and this is a product that we have that is quite unique, and I think a lot of people are starting to understand it, it's called proof of reserve, okay? And proof of reserve actually looks at the reserves off chain, which are held typically in a regulated custodian. And it says, it actually runs a proof that says, does the value of the reserves off-chain match the total outstanding of the fund's issuance on-chain? And that's a way to provide security and scalability to the DeFi universe so that not only are you providing transparency, you're providing programmability and security so that they can be used within these DeFi protocols, and the DeFi protocols and the smart contracts that build these DeFi protocols can use that data to make smart decisions.
What does the combination of Chainlink's ecosystem and infrastructure enable for tokenized assets?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Chainlink's infrastructure, and because of what we've done over the last 5 years, has now enabled our Oracle reach to be pervasive throughout DeFi. So the way we're looking at it now is that we've got this ecosystem of partners that use all of our different data products. what we're starting to find is that the use case is cross-chain, and we're starting to think about the data that these protocols need to make decisions. We can now do two things. We can use the Oracle network for not only to service assets and bring on as much data that may be needed for any tokenized real-world asset, we can also, through our relationships with the DeFi protocols and our technology, start to interconnect them and interweave them, right? That's where you start to get to a level of connectivity, composability, and when you really tie that into programmability and utility for the data that's in the assets, and then you've got Chainlink's Oracle network, which is the most secure decentralized Oracle network. That combination of those three things starts to become an unlock where you have this ecosystem of assets that's secured not only by the protocols that are accepting that data, or the chains that are using the technology that we've built, but the interoperability is the glue that's weaving it all together. And so that's where we start to think about this ecosystem of assets that are being used, they're being issued, that are super interconnected in a way that starts to create a place where we think institutions are starting to become very comfortable with adopting that technology set and some of the ecosystem players that are within it.
Yeah, well, it comes down to the user experience at the end of the day.
100%, absolutely.
Right. Appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. And thanks for joining me from Mainnet. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.